We're here to win. We're going to be assertive. We're going to attack.
You want to change your life? You want to grow your business? You want to make it to that first million, 10 million, 100 million? You want to do whatever that thing is that's in the back of your head going, I know I could do it. What's holding you back is waiting for somebody else to say you can do it. I'm telling you, do it.
Good morning, good morning. Happy Monday, Team Bold. It is great to see Matt, Vatana, Tim, Penny, Regina. Welcome, everyone. I hope you had an awesome weekend. I hope everyone got the batteries recharged. We're ready to hit the week strong, ready to take our life and our business to the next level. Now, before Brian kicks us off this morning, wanted to share just this little insight, super powerful, that Brian shared with me not too long ago, but it was one that for me, I found to be very timely over the past few weeks. And that is the fact that we all have our goals, right? Our outcomes that we're trying to achieve in our life and our business. And we see that goal clearly when we set it. We start moving towards it. We get some momentum. And then sometimes, whether it's life, whatever it is, something will try and knock us off of that path. A roadblock will get in the way. And I remember I was talking to Brian about this in just some personal goals. And I was frustrated, right? And it's frustrating because we see that target so clearly, we're working towards it, and then this roadblock that we didn't expected happen. And I remember Brian telling me, he was like, Alex, it's the frustration, the emotional piece right now that is killing you from getting from your target. And some of you were at our strategy workshop that we had earlier this year, and he talked about with our goals and our targets, right? Sometimes that adjusts. Our goal is the same, but sometimes we got to take a different path to get there. We thought we were going to take the stairs. Maybe we got to go around and take the stairs off to the other side of the building. And it was super impactful for me because I'll share this piece. Many of you know in November, I was sharing about my fitness journey. I'm 2 weeks away from that date and goal that I set. 2 pounds away, 4 pounds of body fat. What set me back was I got sick for a while. Couldn't hit the gym as much. Wasn't expecting that it would hit me as hard as it did. And so it was when Brian was sharing this for me that made me go, okay, you know what? Take the emotional piece, still sticking to my targets, still sticking to my routine, but I know I'm going to get there. Just got to take a little bit of a different stair path. So I encourage everyone this week, as you're working towards your goals, any unexpected, remove the emotion from it. Remember, you might need to take a different path, but you will get there. Brian, we're ready to kick off this week.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks everybody that showed up today. I know that this week is a little crazy for a lot of people. A lot of people take this week a little lighter. We got Memorial Day next weekend, which, by the way, take some time and enjoy it. Like, I'm obviously all about working hard, but you got to play a little too. You got to enjoy, spend some time with the friends, the family, or yourself, or all three of the above. But those of you that showed up this morning, kudos to you, right? A lot of people make excuses in life. A lot of people are like, I'm too busy. I've got this other thing. I've got a lot on my plate right now. True, sure. We all do. But it's not about trying to wait for the perfect time in which you don't have a lot of stuff on your plate to spend time in, I know it's virtual, but rooms like this. To kick off your week, not sitting in your email, your inbox. To kick off your week doing something that's bigger, that's broader, that's expanding your mind, that's making you think bigger, that's making you be a little bolder, that's making you have some contrast to your life, right? Because here's the thing, and I know I've shared this before in a bunch of different ways. When I used to bike race, and I thought I was, pretty fast until I got around some real pros and started riding with them. And then all of a sudden it was like, what was fast for me all of a sudden was like super slow for them. Right? I'm like, guys, we're riding on flat ground, 28 miles an hour. Like we're like cars right now. And I'm barely able to hold my breath. And these guys are just having a conversation. And they're like, oh yeah, we're just warming up. Oh. See, the whole thing about life, especially business, is like you got to get around other people that are a little faster, a little bigger, think differently than you do. Because when we're in our own weeds, like when we're in our world, right? It's like if I didn't go out, if I just continue to bike race and ride and train with that same group of people, I'd be like, yeah, man, like I'm crushing it. I used to be so much slower than these people. Now I'm so much faster. I'm awesome. And then you go out and you realize like, oh, that's in this little pond. And it's such a great metaphor for life and for business, isn't it? Because it's like we all get caught in our own weeds every single day, don't we? Right? We have like, something that goes wrong or some roadblock that pops up or something that didn't quite go as planned in our business. And it's like, oh my God, it feels like a catastrophe. Right? There are people right now that pay to be a part of this program that are not in here on Monday because they're like, oh, I got to get these emails out. I've got this other thing going on. And I'm not saying there aren't legitimate reasons or sometimes you got to pop out, but like, I'm not a believer that like how you do one thing is how you do everything, but I see patterns in people, right? When I'm advising or I'm coaching a CEO, like I look for patterns, right? Sometimes I see like, wow, like there's a client of mine that has gotten into a lot of different business ventures, a lot of different partnerships. When I first started working with him, it was like, man, like this, I got screwed by this business partner and this thing happened. And I started to see this pattern emerge. And it was like, oh, like it's not everyone else's fault, right? This is a pattern for you. You keep getting sucked into the same stuff, right? Why? Because we're so close to the weeds, right? Why? Because we act a certain way in our business, in our daily lives. We commit only a certain amount, don't we? We don't like fully commit usually. A lot of people don't fully commit. A lot of people talk about fully committing, like Alex, right? Those of you that were here, if anybody was here when I really grilled Alex beginning of the year, when he was talking about his fitness goal, and I was like, okay, let's talk about this, right? And like I grilled him. And I was like, well, what's the plan? And how are you going to get there? And is this even possible? And all of a sudden, Alex was like, Now, I know Alex really well, and I know that's what he needs, and he needs to be pushed, right? But like, here we are. And congratulations to Alex. Like everybody give Alex a hand because that's a huge accomplishment. I know you're like, you got, you're like on the border gray area of a couple of things, but come on, like still. But because like you aimed so much bigger, because all of a sudden it was like you were talking and it was like, oh yeah. And like you were, thought you were thinking big. You thought you had a good plan until you got around somebody that thinks much bigger and is much more strategic. Then all of a sudden Alex is like, oh, I don't really have a plan and I'm not even sure if this is feasible and I was not thinking big enough. And here we are 5 months, 4 months, whatever it is later. And Alex is like right there to his goal. It's awesome. Not saying you wouldn't have hit it, but like the probability of hitting it prior to really getting strategic, prior to really putting in the commitment, prior to putting in the effort, prior to getting pushed by somebody else, my crazy self, prior to getting like, dude, here's reality for you. Prior to that, the probability of reaching the goal is much lower. See, there's no guarantees in life, are there? There's just probabilities. It's just probabilities. I'm trying to give all of you the highest probability of reaching your goals, of reaching success, of reaching financial freedom, of growing your business to that next level. I'm trying to give you the tools and the mindset so that it gives you the highest probability of achieving that. But notice how I never say like, oh, this is guaranteed. The 3 steps is guaranteed to do X. I don't say that. I know those are good like clickbaity headlines. But like, I don't say that to you guys. Why? Because it's just not reality. Why? Because guess what? Life isn't a series of you do these. It's, yes, there's recipes. Okay. Right. You can't bake a cake if you put the wrong ingredients in or the wrong amounts in. Correct. Like if you need eggs and you skip eggs, like you're just going to end up with this big runny mess. You have to have the right ingredients. You have to have the right amounts. You have to do it in the right order in order to get a cake. But the reality is, when you're baking a cake, those are the only variables, the ingredients and the oven temperature and the time. And that's it. Business, life, there's a few more variables, aren't there? Just a couple. There's all these other variables that you don't control. So you're baking a cake, you control the environment 100%. How many of you control 100% of your environment every single day? Nobody. You don't. There are things that will happen to you that you wish didn't happen to you, because you don't control your whole environment. Sucks. But that's the reality. Where am I going with this? Here's a question I want you to ask yourselves. Am I really prepared for in my business to deal with bigger challenges that I'm currently facing? Am I prepared to deal with bigger challenges that I'm currently facing? What do I mean by that? It's like, okay, well, what's bigger? Oh, I don't know. Slap with a lawsuit. Someone in your family dies. You get sick for a long period of time. Then what? Is your business in a position to where you're like, hey, man, that kind of stuff happens, and like the business will continue to work and will continue to generate enough money and enough revenue and enough profits to where like I can deal with this other stuff? Is your business in that position? Another crazy economic downturn? You don't have to answer it, except for in your own head. But I'll tell you right now, because I talk to a lot of business owners, most people are not. The vast majority are not actually prepared for life throwing them a real curveball. They're not. Right? Like something happens and all of a sudden you're like, man, some of you put 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years into your business to this point. And it's like, well, what is your business going to be able to do for you when you really need it? For a lot of people, it's nothing. Why do I say this? Why do I share this? Because like it's a wake-up call, ladies and gentlemen. It's a wake-up call. For what? For growth. Because let me ask you, some crazy curveball happens. You get sick for 3 months. You can't do anything. Like you got to go deal with some crazy stuff. If your business isn't in a position where you're like, okay, look, it wouldn't be ideal. I'm not saying it wouldn't necessarily be messy, but like if your business is in a position where like you can't go, hey, I can walk away for the next 3 months. Business will still be here when I get back. Maybe a little bit messier, but fine. It'll still be here, and it's going to take care. It's going to make sure I can deal with all this other stuff. If your business is not in that position right now, you got a problem. You're thinking too small. Because it's not like baking a cake. It's like there's all these other variables. There's all these other things. The economy, health, like just random crazy stuff that happens. And so like what I'm doing for you is like that is the mental equivalent of like all of a sudden it's like, yeah, man, like riding pretty fast, doing really good, like putting in the work, working really hard, grinding, like building the business. This is awesome. Is the equivalent of, hey man, I'm racing my bike. I'm around these, 20, 30 guys all the time. In the last couple of years, like it took me, and now I'm like faster than most of them. That's awesome. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, go in a pro Peloton for an hour. Oh my God. Then the question becomes, well, do you just want to slow down and go back to the back? Or do you really want this? Do you want to become better? Do you want to be a pro? Right? This is the mental equivalent of all of a sudden, I've just put you all in the pro Peloton. It's like, okay, yeah, my business is doing good, and we're doing great, and we're cash flow positive this month, and things are awesome. Okay, now let's get in the pro Peloton. What happens when everything goes wrong? How's the business? How's it going to take care of you? You don't have to answer it publicly, but I guarantee most of you are thinking inside your head, I'd be fucked. Yeah. So stop thinking so small. Stop thinking about today. Stop thinking about the cash flow for next week, next month, the next 3 months. Start thinking about bigger. Like how can you actually get something from your business, from all of this time, energy, heartache, blood, sweat, and tears you put into your business? Because I know you all do. How do you get something from that? Just think about this, guys. Every day that you're working in your business, you're investing. You're investing your time. You're investing your sweat. You're investing your blood. You're investing your ideas. You're working harder than the average person. You're investing every single day. You're investing. But what does investing mean? You expect to invest today to some point in the future, get some return back. But here's the thing, most entrepreneurs, they're not thinking far enough down the road to be like, am I actually going to get a return from this? Is this an investment? Or am I just like spending my time on something busy every day for a vision that I have that in reality doesn't serve me? Damn, that shit hurts, doesn't it? Sometimes reality doesn't feel good. But here's the thing, and I know most Mondays I'm pumping you guys up, but I'm hoping this pumps you up from another angle, right? Like this is when the equivalent of when I was coaching Alex, and those of you that hear you saw it, like sometimes we need a little tough love. Sometimes we need to feel the legs burning. Sometimes we need to feel like, oh my gosh, like my heart's beating down my chest. Like this is a bad situation, or this could be a bad situation. Why? I'll tell you why. For better or worse, our brains are wired to take more action to avoid pain than we are to go towards opportunities. That's just how it works. Like our brains are wired to avoid pain, not to like become the best version of ourselves. Our brains are not wired for that. We got to work towards that. That's hard. Because like, let me ask you this. Let's say, and you can think to yourself, like, what's the, not necessarily the best version, but what's the version that's 10x where you are right now? Yourself. I'm sure you'd all like to get there. Me too. What's the 10x version of yourself? 10 times. 10 times, I don't know, more successful, more money, you know, more freedom, like whatever, business, 10 times, like whatever that is, okay? Whatever those things are, whatever that would tangibly be for you. Do you want that? I think most of you do, right? Who wouldn't want that? Of course. Yeah, of course you do. Of course you want that. Of course. That's why you're all here. That's why you all come on Mondays. That's why you show up and put in the work and do the training and ask the questions and right and participate. Come to the workshops, like because you're looking at this version of yourself down the road, this version of your business down the road. Where you're like, man, I know that I could be so much more successful. I know that I can have a much bigger impact. I know that my business can be much further along. I know that my business can work with so many more clients and all of these different things, right? You know that. You wouldn't be here if you didn't believe those things, right? So that's what you want. You want this version of your business and yourself that's like out in the future, this like mystical creature. Like, oh my gosh, that would be awesome, right? And you probably think about that a lot of the time. Probably like, oh yeah, like once we get there and all this stuff. And so do I, okay? But let me ask you, and I want an honest answer. You can share it or you can just answer it in your own head. Want an honest answer though. That version, whatever you're picturing, the down the road version of yourself and your business, where you're like, yeah, like that's awesome. That's 10 times, you know, further along. That would be an incredible accomplishment. That version of yourself. Last week, if you're honest with yourself, did you put in every ounce of effort that you could have to become that version of yourself? Every ounce. Or did you leave some shit on the table? Did you cut a corner here or there? Did you get a little tired and skip a meeting or, you know, only work part of the day? Like, really, like that 10 times version of you, would they say, yeah, last week, I killed it. I could not have put in more effort towards this goal. Or would that 10 times version of you go, yeah, that wasn't who I am now? I guarantee nobody gave it everything last week. Guaranteed. Yeah, not 100%. I don't know how many of you have heard this story, so I'll keep it brief. But when I was bike racing, and I was moving up the category, like the, you know, the amateur, pro amateur ranks, right? It's categorized, right? You keep working your way up. and I was somewhere in the middle, working my way up. And the way, like, you know, when you work out, like at the gym, right? It's like, how do you know if you're stronger, right? It's like, okay, well, I was benching 100 pounds last year. This year I'm benching 200 pounds. Like, clearly, you know, you're working harder. On a bike, other than like speed and stuff like that, it's really hard to tell, like, well, am I actually getting fitter? Am I actually, right? Because there's too many variables. Not to get into all the weeds, some of you are geeky like I am. Something called a power meter. Okay. And it's basically the same equivalent of like how much actual power your legs are able to generate over periods of time. Okay. And because like in bike racing, there's so much data involving that, you're able to benchmark yourself against like other pros. And you can see like, okay, like when Lance Armstrong was all doped up in the Tour de France, like where would I compare to him, right? Okay. Like how much power was he able to put out? And then you see and you're like, oh my God, that's nuts. It's impossible. Right? It's like you're around all your friends. You're like, I benched 300 pounds, man. And then you get around somebody who's like, okay, they're a power lifter and putting up like 1,000 kilograms. And you're just like, oh, they're like, add 5 more plates on each side. And you're like, okay, nope, I'm weak. Right? It's that equivalent. But I tell you that for some context because I do this race. It was actually up in Vermont. It was a 3-day stage race. So similar to Tour de France, where we race every single day, except it's only 4 days. 4-day race instead of 21 days is 4 days, right? And so there was a mountain stage where to climb over 2 mountain peaks during the day, and I was out with the lead pack, like broken away from Peloton, doing pretty good, feeling really strong. We get to the second mountain climb, and like I got 2/3 of the way up, and everything I had, there was 10 of us, 9 or 10 of us, I gave it everything I had, and it was like we're 2/3 of the way, and all of a sudden the bike tire in front of me, the racer in front of me gets like 2 inches away, then 5 inches, then 6 inches, and it didn't matter how hard, like there was nothing I could do. It was like slow motion. I mean, we're still moving really fast up a mountain, but like comparatively to everybody around you, it's just like you're just slowly watching them disappear from you, and you're like, I can't work any harder, right? So needless to say, like I lost them. They got over the mountain pass, and I lost them, and then I was out in limbo by myself, and eventually got swallowed up, and you know, just got my ass handed to me. So I get back, analyze my power meter data, and it shows that climb up that part of the mountain was the equivalent of a Tour de France pro. I'm freaking like somewhere in the middle of the amateur ranks. So it's like, I shouldn't be able to put out that much power. And so I go to my coach at the time and I go, dude, how the hell am I supposed to be able to ever win one of these races, dude? I was like, we're like Cat 3, we're in the middle amateurs. I go, and we literally put out for like 9 minutes or 12 minutes the power of freaking like Lance Armstrong, legitimately, like up a mountain pass. I go, I didn't even know I was capable of that. Like I was working so far beyond what I'd ever worked at before. I go, but dude, how can I can't work harder than that. I go, this is ridiculous. Like, what am I supposed to do? Coach was a very dry guy. And he said, okay. He goes, let me ask you a question, Brian. If you knew, like really knew, when you were like slowly starting to lose it, if you knew that those guys, because they were going, he goes, yeah, you guys were pushing it as hard as possible. He goes, that was some pretty big numbers. He goes, but if you knew that those guys could only hang on to that speed for 30 more seconds, only 30 more seconds, and then after those 30 seconds, they would have totally let up, could you have stuck with them for 30 more seconds? I said, well, yeah. He goes, you didn't lose because of your fitness, you lost because of your mindset. I was like, yeah, but dude, those guys, like, there was no way they were ripping my legs off. And he goes, dude, looking at these numbers, he goes, you guys are like, he goes, you're all off of the chart for your level. He goes, which means if you felt that way, so did everybody else. He goes, there's no way they would have held on to this for another 20, 30, maybe 40 seconds. No way. And I was like, nah, man, like they were just that much stronger. Eventually he goes, he finds one of the winners who he knew through somebody else, gets the power meter data, and he showed me, lined it up with mine. He showed me it was like 32 or 33 seconds later, they totally let up, literally. Like he knew, he used to be a pro bike racer. He knew. And so I was like, oh my God. So it wasn't just like theory. No, like for real. They let up about 30 seconds later. Mindset shift. It wasn't about like, dude, yeah, could I continue to work out? Could I continue to get better? Yes. But guess what? The difference in winning a bike race wasn't fitness level. It's up here. The difference between who you are right now in your business and where your business is and where it's going to be in the future, that 10 times version of you, this is the limiter. This is the limiter. Yeah. Do you need to continue to improve the business? Do you need to continue to improve the processes? Do you need to get better at sales? Do you need to get better, at getting in front of your clients and prospects and customers and converting? Absolutely. That's why you're here. But guess what? That's not the biggest variable to your success. This is your noggin. That's what's holding you back. That's what's holding you back. That's what's keeping your business small. That's what's keeping your business from truly serving you. That's what's keeping your business to the point of where if you had to walk away from it for 3 months, you'd be screwed because of this. Because you're not thinking big enough. Or you think that it's totally unachievable. Let me explain that dichotomy for a second, okay? Because either you're not thinking big enough, you're like, yeah, I'm like satisfied with these wins, and then you're all of a sudden, it's like, I got to get you to think so much bigger, like I did with Alex, where all of a sudden it's like, wow, it's like when I went out and I got in a pro Peloton, it was like, oh my God, I didn't know we could go this fast. That's crazy. All of a sudden, right? Like what I thought was the maximum was now like the chart got bigger, right? It's the same for you. That's why you're here. That's why I'm pushing you guys to get you to see. It's like, okay, maybe your chart is this big right now. And you're like, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm up and to the right of this chart. But then I zoom you out and realize you're just this little tiny fraction in this huge ass chart. Oh, that changes perspective, doesn't it? It makes you start to think bigger. Man, maybe it's like, I'm not charging enough. Maybe I'm going after tiny clients because that's what I'm used to, or that's what I'm comfortable with. I should be going after bigger clients that can pay more. Maybe it's like, hey, I'm only reaching out to, 5, 6, 7, 10 prospects a week. For me to get to my goal, maybe that needs to be 100. Maybe I need to invest more in my business. Time, money, energy, effort, people, whatever. Right? Like when you zoom out and you get a bigger picture and you stop going like, hey, yeah, like I'm at this maximal version of me, and you zoom out and go like, where am I? Now think of this, okay? For yourself, where am I compared to what my potential is? Are you close? Are you nowhere near it? Because I guarantee you that chart's a lot bigger than where you are on it right now. Same for your business. Where are you compared to the potential and where you want it to be? Right? Because like if you're thinking small, if you're just like, hey, yeah, like this is good enough. And then, right, that unknown variable comes and slaps you in the face. All of a sudden, like this is pretty good goes to this is miserable, this is terrible, what am I going to do? You don't want to be in that position. I've been there, it sucks. You don't want to be in that position. The other side of it though, right? Like that's not thinking big enough. The other side is thinking that it's not even accomplishable at this stage. Can't even do it. It's like, yeah, but Brian, that's such a big gap. Like, I just can't do all that stuff. I would need 20 more people and all this stuff and all these resources, money and time that I don't have. I'm not there yet, man. It's impossible. Is the equivalent of me going to my coach and going, dude, I couldn't work any harder. There was just impossible. I couldn't get up that mountain any faster if I tried. I'm putting out Lance Armstrong numbers for 13 minutes. I can't do that anymore. And then what he made me realize is, here's where I thought was my maximum, and I lost. Like, not just like, oh, I didn't win, I came in 5th. It's like I went from being in the top 9 guys. We had like a 4 or 5 minute lead from the Peloton, which is huge in a race like this. Like all those guys finished together, to getting broken off the back, getting sucked up and spit out by the Peloton, to finishing like 30 minutes behind because I was exhausted. I exhausted myself trying to catch those guys, right? So I gave it everything I thought I had, which was this much, and totally getting destroyed, to where all I had to give was this. It wasn't unreachable. It wasn't this like, oh my gosh, dude, I've got to go train for 17 more years. I just needed to hang on for 32 more seconds. What's in your life? What's in your business that like, maybe you're like, yeah, but Brian, I don't have all these resources, or this is so far away, or like, I just can't work any more hours. I can't make any more calls. I've asked my prospects everything I possibly can. I've called every client I have. Have you? Or is it like, You just need this much more effort, and you'll actually win the race. Like, it's a combination of both of these things, isn't it? That's the dichotomy I want you to come away with from today's call of like, I need to think much bigger. I need to zoom out on the chart and realize like, I'm just kind of getting started compared to where I could be. I need you to zoom out to where you're like, wow, there's so much more that I can do. There's so much more potential. There's so much more possibility. There's so much more opportunity. And I have to do it because if I don't put my business in a position to serve me, I'm screwing myself with every dime, every time, every minute that I'm investing into my company. I have no choice. I have to do this. I got to work harder. I got to learn more. I've got to try harder. I got to show up to these calls every single week. I got to extract every little dime of value that I can and put it back into my business and execute on it so I can get to the next level, right? Because I have to. Instead of like, hey, it'd be nice to be 10 times further along to like, I need to get there so that way when the variable hits, I'm taken care of. So that I actually can reap the reward from my investment. It's like you're all out there sowing seeds, and at the end of the year, somebody plows it all away. It's like, no, man, you're out there sowing all these seeds, so one day you're going to have this huge harvest. But see, most entrepreneurs, most business people aren't doing that. They're planting all these seeds, ripping out all these weeds, and then it's like, you start over every year. That's stupid. It's silly. Because you work a lot harder than most people, don't you? You put a lot more effort in than most people. Like, I bet you, any of those of you that have employees, I bet, you don't have to admit this out loud, I bet at least one time you've thought, man, if I could just fucking work as many hours as my damn employees, my life would be so much easier. They get a paycheck every 2 weeks. They only have to work this many hours. They have no idea how hard I work. Some of you have thought that more than once. Like, they're reaping all the rewards. You're sowing the seeds, they're taking them. There's nothing left for you. So you've got to think bigger. And then you've got to realize that like, whatever feels like a gap, right? Because I'm telling you, right? Like, I know, like some of you are like, hate bike racing or can't even relate to any of the words that I was using. That's fine. But I'll tell you, right? Because as I'm telling this story, I'm a very like visual person. Like I'm very in my head when I'm telling stories that I've experienced. Like I could see it again. Like I'm very, very visual with photographic memory. So I'm like replaying the movie as I was like telling it to you guys. Yeah, I tell you, like when I mean, like this is not like metaphorically. When I mean, I literally gave it everything I had. Like, just so that you know, like my maximum heart rate, like the fastest it can possibly be, right? And because I bike raced for many years, so everything was tracked, data, heart rate monitor, everything. 192. I can't, like physically cannot get it above 192. I don't know what it is today, but when I was bike racing, it was 192, okay? And when you hit your maximal, I mean, like that's true maximal. Your heart physically cannot be, your biology will not, like everyone has a biological, it doesn't mean if I'm 192 and you're 180, it doesn't, it's for you, right? But like whatever there's a biological marker for you specifically, and it's not the lists online because it's all nonsense, just, you know, whatever. But if you've been trained, you've done VO2 max tests and all this kind of stuff and sprint tests, like you would know, right? And anybody who's been an athlete, especially endurance athlete, you probably have this data for yourself, okay? You have a biological max. Your heart will never, ever, ever be faster than this, okay? If you can get it up to that high, which is very hard to do, like you are at absolute maximum workload. It means that your body needs more oxygen than it can get through its lungs, right? That's why your heart gets to that fast of a beat. It is using more oxygen than you can consume. Typically, you can only like maybe 30 seconds, and then your body will start to shut stuff down to get you to slow down because you'll pass out because you're literally not getting enough oxygen, okay? I was at 192 for like 2 minutes. And during that 13-minute period where we're climbing up until I lost those guys, my average heart rate was like 189. I'm not joking. That's where I was like, dude, I literally couldn't work any harder. Like biologically, I was at my max, beyond my max. Like I was in borrowed time, which is why when I blew up really hard, okay? But I was like literally in borrowed time where it's like, yeah, you're off the charts. Like, yeah. Right, right, adrenaline, like just sheer will, you can push yourself to do those things like occasionally for short periods of time, but like off the charts for a while, right? Like that's insane. to be that high in your heart rate zone for that long of a time. Okay. But the thing is, like, and the thing about it is like, dude, it sucked. It hurt so bad. Like, for any of you that's been an endurance athlete, or anyone who's ever gone for a sprint and you've like gotten your heart rate up as hard as you can go, and then you're like, I got to keep going. You know what that pain feels like? Now, like, do that for that long of a period of time up a mountain pass, right? It hurts so bad, and your brain is like literally starting to shut stuff down, and like you're trying to override it, and it hurts so bad. And so I genuinely believed, I felt it. When I came in, I was like, dude, here's the data. F you, man. Like, my heart rate is as high as it could go. Power's off the chart. I can't physically, biologically work any harder than this, man. What was I supposed to do? I felt like I needed to become this impossible version. I felt like I needed to be this Superman to accomplish my goal. And maybe you feel like that at certain points in your business where like, man, like, I'm just not that good. I'm just not that smart. I just can't do it that fast. I just can't, like, I just don't have enough resources. I'm just not there. Like, I can't work any harder. I'm doing everything I got. And you feel like you're totally maxed out until somebody says to you, you know, you only had to go 32 more seconds. And then you're like, well, yeah, I could have done 32 more seconds. Of course you could. Because if you knew that it was only 32 more seconds, you would have found one little extra ounce of adrenaline to push you through it, wouldn't you? I know for sure. As hard as everything was hurting, I mean, for 13 minutes, what's another 13 minutes and 32 seconds? Gives a crap. Right? Body already proved it could work outside of the biological norms for that period of time. Another 30 seconds? Right? You need to have that perspective as well. You got to think so much bigger to like what's possible, and then go like, hey, what feels impossible probably isn't. What feels impossible is probably just one or two more decisions. What feels impossible might be just working an extra hour. What feels impossible might just be investing a little bit more money. What feels impossible might just be one or two more phone calls. It might be. What if it is? What if I could look at all of your businesses over the last month and tell you all and just be like, hey, you know, if you made 10 more phone calls last month, you would have tripled your revenue? How would you feel then? Hey, if you just asked these 5 prospects 2 more times each, half of them would have closed. You'd be doing business with you. What if you knew that? How would you feel? You'd be like, well, yeah, I could have done that. But when you're in it, what does it feel like? It feels like you're giving it your all. It feels like you're doing everything you can, doesn't it? That's why you got to have these perspectives. Because sometimes you're like, yeah, I am working beyond capacity. I'm doing 12-hour days, Brian. I've got everything into the company. Sure. But what if I told you it was just 2 more phone calls? Could you have done it? Yes. What if I told you it was like you just needed to negotiate a little bit harder? Could you have done it? Yes. What if I told you you just needed to follow up 2 more times? Well, could you have done it? Yes. No matter how hard you're working now, no matter if you're totally maxed out, you're at 100% of your heart rate in your business. You're at 100%. Even if you're at 100, you're giving it 100%. Could you go 101 if you knew that that's what would win the game for you? Could you? I hope the answer is yes. Because listen, you don't have a choice. You've got to grow your business. There's a lot of people in here of different sizes. Some people much smaller starting out, some people in the tens of millions. I don't care where you are. It needs to be bigger than where it is now, because your business is not serving you to the level that you know it needs to and should for your well-being, for your family's well-being, just to be able to hit your potential. You got to make it a must. Instead of be nice to do that. Be a great, yeah, when we get there, that'll be cool. Yeah, that's nice. But if somebody said, hey, you have to get your business 10 times further along, or I'll literally kill your whole family, you'd find a way, wouldn't you? I know it's facetious, but you would find a way. Somebody kidnapped somebody you loved and said the only way out is to double your revenue. You'd find a way. You'd find a way tomorrow. You'd figure it out. You'd be making 700 calls a day. You call everybody you knew. You beg, borrow, plead. You do everything, wouldn't you? See, but here's the thing. We're wired to react when we're in danger. We're wired to react and work harder when there's a problem to avoid pain than we are to get the opportunity. Because, right, hey, if I'm not at 10x, yeah, it'd be cool if I could get there. I know you don't say that out loud, but that's what your brain's saying subconsciously. It'd be cool if we get there. That'd be nice. But it's not going, I have to. So here's the thing. Why not? What's stopping you from just changing that perspective for yourself right now? And just going, I have to. I don't have a choice. My business will drown me if I don't. I'm literally in danger if I don't get my business twice as big, 10 times as big, whatever it is. If I don't make my profits twice as much, 10 times as much, my business will kill me. Why not just, like, you don't, instead of like waiting until the crazy thing happens and slaps you in the face to take action, why not just take action now? Like it's life or death. Why not just act like you're on the ropes already? Instead of waiting until you're on the ropes to take that kind of action. Because I know, and some of you, and I know some of your personal stories, have been on the ropes before, have been facing down the barrel, and you're like, yeah, and it kicked my ass in gear. Dude, just like me 18 years ago when I was living on the couch, dude, it was like, that was the biggest motivating factor of my entire life. It sucked to go through, but it was like, dude, I had to figure this out. I had to get off that couch. I had to turn life around. I had to. So I did everything that I needed to do it. But let me ask you, before I was on that couch, was I still capable of doing all the actions I did after being on that couch? Yes or no? I was just as capable before, wasn't I? So why did it take me nearly losing everything to do it? It's a messed up question. But here's the thing, and this is the gift for you for this week as we go into Memorial Day. What's stopping you from just taking that level of action, that must level of action, that survivatory level of action, that aggression, that like domination, that like gotta get it, that extra 30 seconds, that extra call, that extra ask? What's stopping you from doing that now? Or are you gonna wait until life slaps you in the face to do it? I think just do it now. Why wait? Do it now. So, anybody have a takeaway, any value from today? Does it change anything for you? Drop it in the chat, and then we'll wrap up today, and I'll send you off. Thank you, Regina. Urgency. Yeah. Add some urgency to yourself. Go 30 seconds more. Just one more rep, one more push, one more call. Do it now. Yeah, like stop waiting. Yeah, I have the capacity. I just need to do it for sure. Yeah, why wait? Good question. Push yourself beyond your limits. Yeah. See, like, and then the beauty is then all of a sudden you realize you have bigger limits. Okay. I hope today's session was helpful. Take this with you. Okay, we got Memorial Day weekend. I'm going to be enjoying some time with the family. I hope you're enjoying some time with the family. Like, take this though and use this as fuel for the rest of the days this week that you're working. Use it as fuel, and then go take some time away, recharge, and then come back after next week. Come back with vengeance. I want your June, end of next week starts June, by the way, crazy. I want your June to be your best month of the year. Okay, I'm going to keep pushing you guys. Andrew Devlin's going to continue to push you guys. We don't have a call next Monday, but next Thursday I have a coaching call with all of you, group coaching call, Q&A session. So show up to that. Okay, I'm giving you all a little break. I want you to take this mindset. I want you to take this energy. I want you to take that like veracity, that like hunger that you have inside of you, that I know that you have inside of you, that's dormant. Wake it up. Wake it up. In June, let's all crush it. I'm gonna be pushing you guys harder in June. So get back here next Thursday is our next session. I'll see you then. All right, and you all know what to do. Everybody unmute. And on 3, we're gonna do it and then go have an awesome time. 1, 2, 3, fortune favors the bold. Bold. And Chris, I saw your shirt has the word bold. I love it. All right, everybody, go have an amazing rest of the week. Report back. I'll see you next Thursday.
We're here to win. We're going to be assertive. We're going to attack.
You want to change your life? You want to grow your business? You want to make it to that first million, 10 million, 100 million? You want to do whatever that thing is that's in the back of your head going, I know I could do it. What's holding you back is waiting for somebody else to say you can do it. I'm telling you, do it.